You know that feeling, right? That slow motion nightmare when you see your phone heading for water? The sink, the beach, maybe even the toilet. We don't judge. We've all been there, and we've all had that same thought. It's fine, it's water resistant. Well, that belief and what most of us do next is where the real disaster begins. Today, we're going to get into the brutal science of liquid damage and explain why the most popular advice is almost always the worst. All right, let's jump in. So just imagine it. Your phone is soaked. What's your gut reaction? Do you shake it like crazy? Grab a hairdryer and blast it on high heat? Or do you do the thing everyone seems to do? Run to the kitchen, grab a bag of rice, and bury your phone in it, hoping for some kind of tech miracle. Yeah, that last one, that's the myth we all want to believe, and it's the very first thing we need to tear down. And this right here, this just says it all. It's the huge gap between what we think is happening and what's actually happening. On the left, that's what the customer sees, the bowl of rice. It feels like you're doing something, right? It feels like a solution. But on the right, well, that's what a technician sees under their microscope. That's not a wet phone. That is a full-blown, destructive chemical war happening on a microscopic level. Okay, so for our first section, we're going straight after this myth. We're calling it the rice bowl fallacy, because the whole idea that you just need to dry it out is probably the single most destructive piece of advice in the world of personal tech. Here's the absolute key, the thing that everybody gets wrong. The water itself, it's not really the bad guy. It's just the getaway driver. The real enemy is all the stuff the water leaves behind when it evaporates. All the minerals, the salts, the gunk that gets left behind like a crust all over your phone's sensitive electronics. And that brings us perfectly to our next section, where we're going to get into the nitty-gritty. This is the chemistry of a catastrophe. It's time to meet the real villain that's silently eating your device from the inside out. Just look at that. Seriously, it looks like something they pulled off the Titanic. That gross green and white stuff isn't just rust. It's a result of something called electrolytic migration. Now, in plain English, that means when the electricity from your battery mixes with that mineral-filled water, it basically puts corrosion on steroids. It starts growing these nasty crystal formations that literally eat through the tiny copper highways on the circuit board. And this timeline shows you exactly how sneaky this whole process is. Day 0, you drop it. By day 3, it seems dry. And hey, it might even turn on. This is the moment of false hope. This is when you think, the rice worked, but you can't see what's happening inside. By week 4, that corrosion has been silently spreading, and that's when things start to fail, seemingly out of nowhere. So let's dig deeper into what we call a slow motion invasion. We're going to look at exactly how this damage creeps through your phone long after you figured you were in the clear. So one of the biggest problems is something called microscopic bridging. You can see it here. That leftover mineral gunk actually forms little unwanted wires between 2 points on the circuit board that should never, ever be connected. What does that mean for you? Well, that's what causes a parasitic draw. You ever had a phone that suddenly won't make it to lunchtime on a full charge or gets super hot for no reason? This is very often the culprit. And believe it or not, it gets even worse. Liquid is sneaky. It uses something called capillary action to get sucked right underneath the main computer chips on the board. We're talking about spaces that are impossible to see, let alone clean with a brush. This is called under-chip corrosion, and it is the #1 reason why a simple surface clean does basically nothing. The real damage is happening where nobody can even see it. And yeah, of course, what your phone fell into makes a huge difference. This liquid toxicity matrix lays it out perfectly. Freshwater is bad, but saltwater, it's in a completely different league. It's incredibly conductive, and the corrosion is immediate and violent. It is, without a doubt, the ultimate enemy for any piece of electronics. So what happens when you bring this corroded, unpredictable mess to a repair shop? Well, that leads us right into Section 4, chasing electronic gremlins. And this is where you see why this kind of repair is so deeply frustrating, not just for the technician, but for the customer who just wants a straight answer. Technicians call them gremlins for a reason. These are problems that just don't make sense. You'll say your camera doesn't work, the tech tests it, and it works perfectly. You get home, and it's broken again. Or maybe the Wi-Fi only works when the phone is cold. These bizarre, intermittent problems are caused by those little mineral bridges making and breaking connections as the board heats up and cools down. Trying to diagnose it and then explain it to a customer who thinks you're crazy, it's an absolute nightmare. And then you've got this, the domino effect. This causes so many difficult conversations. A technician finds a clear problem, say a corroded charge port. Awesome. They replace it, the phone gets power again, and bam.
That fresh rush of electricity immediately blows out a second hidden problem further down the circuit, like a power management chip. Now, to the customer, it just looks like the repair failed and the price went up. But what really happened is that the first fix just gave the board enough power to reveal the next layer of damage. Now, when it comes to actually cleaning this mess, there are levels to it. You've got your basic manual scrubbing with some alcohol. It's better than nothing, for sure, but we already know it can't get under the chips where the real battle is. And then you have the pro method, an ultrasonic cleaner. This thing uses high-frequency sound waves to create microscopic bubbles that implode, basically pressure washing all the hidden corrosion off the board. It's the only real way to do a deep clean. But, and this is a huge but, even the best cleaning in the world has its limits. If a short circuit was bad enough to literally burn a carbon track right through the layers of the circuit board itself, that's called delamination. And it's permanent. It's physical, structural damage. Cleaning can get rid of the minerals, but it can't undurn the board. So all of this leads us to the most critical part of this entire explainer. We have to completely change how we think about the goal here. This isn't a normal repair. This is a rescue mission. This picture really tells the whole story. Look at the scales. Because the corrosion is progressive and totally unpredictable, a repaired phone can never, ever be considered 100% reliable again. So the goal of any professional shouldn't be to give you back a perfect phone. It should be to save what you truly can't replace, your data. Success isn't a phone that works like new. Success is getting your photos, your contacts, your life safely off that dying device. And that's why communication is absolutely everything. For any tech and for any customer, these are the golden rules of that conversation. First, be upfront about the unpredictability. This isn't a simple broken screen. Second, you have to give clear warnings about reliability. This phone may never be trustworthy again. And third, and most important, you have to clarify the goal. Are we trying to make this your daily phone again, or are we just trying to get it stable enough for a one-time data rescue? Just let that sink in for a minute. A temporary state, not a permanent solution. That hits right at the heart of the issue. It completely challenges that feeling of, hey, I paid for a repair, it should be fixed for good. The hard truth is, the corrosion can always keep spreading, and any technician who guarantees a permanent fix is just ignoring the laws of physics. So, what's the bottom line? It's this: prioritize your data. That's what matters. And never, ever trust a promise that physics itself cannot guarantee. The goal here is recovery, not resurrection. Which brings us all the way back to the beginning, to that word we hear in all the ads: water resistant. We've seen today that it isn't some magic shield. The seals wear out, they fail under pressure, and they don't do a thing against the chemical attack of salt water or chlorine. So, is your phone water resistant? Is it waterproof? The hard truth is, it's neither. When it comes to a splash, survival isn't about marketing terms, it's about luck, time, and the cold, hard laws of chemistry.